On behalf of the commissioners and staff, I would like to welcome you to the April 25, 2024 City of Roseville Planning Commission meeting. Please put all electronic devices on silent at this time. Agendas are available at the end of the staff table, and if you plan to speak at tonight's meeting, please complete a blue speaker card and return it to a staff member. As a reminder, Planning Commission meetings are broadcast live and replayed throughout the week on Consolidated Communications and Comcast. I will now call the meeting to order. Lupe, may I have a roll call?
Yes, Commissioner Brashears.
Here.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes.
Here.
Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
Commissioner Martin is absent, excused. Commissioner Randolph.
Here.
Vice Chair Pryor is absent, excused, and Chair Covington.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lupe, please begin staff introductions.
Good evening, Commissioners. Lupe Nelson, Recording Secretary.
Good evening, Commissioners. Joe Speaker, Assistant City Attorney.
Good evening, Chair Covington and Commissioners. Greg Bitter, Planning Manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. Lauren Hawker, Senior Planner.
Good evening, Commissioners. Eric Singer, Associate Planner.
Thank you. The public comment period is a time for anyone who would like to address the Commission on an item that is not on tonight's agenda. When addressing the Commission, please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the Commission on an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period. Next is the consent calendar, which consists of routine items that may be approved under one motion as recommended in the staff reports. However, each item may be considered separately upon request by the audience, Planning Commission, or staff. Tonight's consent calendar consists of one item, Item 5.1, minutes from the March 14, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Is there anyone on the Commission or in the audience who would like to pull this item off the consent calendar for separate discussion? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as listed?
Chair, I'll make a motion to move. I'll second.
Commissioner Randolph has made the motion and Commissioner Brashears has seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears.
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph.
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes.
Yes.
And Chair Covington.
Yes. The motion is approved. Next on the agenda is requests and presentations. Before we begin, I will review the meeting procedures. First, we will hear the staff presentation, then I will take questions from the Commission. Then I will open the public hearing and public comment period when the public will have an opportunity to speak. After the public has had an opportunity to speak, I will close the public comment period, and the Commission may ask questions of staff. Then I will close the public hearing, and finally, the Commission will consider the item and make a decision based on the information provided in the report from staff and the testimony presented during tonight's hearing. Item 6.1 is a request that the Planning Commission consider and recommend that the City Council approve an ordinance amendment to Title 19 and Title 18 of the Roseville Municipal Code. For the record, file number PL 24-0106. Eric, may we have your presentation, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Covington. Tonight, I will be discussing the City-Initiated Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance Legislative Update Project. So, as you know, each year, staff reviews the zoning ordinance and any other ordinances to identify needed maintenance updates, including updates needed in response to state legislation. I will be reviewing a brief summary of the proposed changes, but the staff report goes over all of those proposed changes in much greater detail and includes the redline sections of the zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance as Exhibits A and B. The first change that we're proposing to the zoning ordinance is to create a separate definition for hydrogen fueling stations and modify the permitted use table for both hydrogen fuel stations as well as electric vehicle charging centers per state law. Next, we've created language in conjunction with the City Attorney's Office to clarify what happens when an appellant fails to appear for an appeal hearing. If they don't appear, the appeal will be denied, and they cannot appeal the denial. There is a new density bonus incentive for qualifying projects that include at least 16% affordable units to very low-income households per new state law. We've also updated the language regarding the appearance of accessory dwelling units to be more objective, both to clarify the standards as well as make them more enforceable. Additionally, we've included language specifying that no physical improvements can be required, for example, curb, gutter, sidewalk improvements, when building an ADU. This is also to remain in compliance with state legislation. We've also included table notes to reflect the fact that when using certain ministerial mapping processes, a property may no longer have an ADU or JADU. This will be discussed a little bit later in the presentation in further detail. The last proposed zoning ordinance amendment is regarding required setbacks for street side yard fences adjacent to key lots. So a key lot occurs where there's a rear yard abutting a neighbor's side yard, as pictured above in the diagram. Currently, side yard fences adjacent to a key lot have to be 10 feet back from the sidewalk. That's the area highlighted in red would be the location of the fence. After researching zoning ordinances from several surrounding jurisdictions, staff discovered that the 10-foot minimum setback is more restrictive than all but 2 other cities. Staff found that the typical setback for those cities was 5 feet or less for a street side yard fence, even when adjacent to a key lot. Taking into consideration other city standards as well as feedback from our own engineering division, we're proposing to reduce the key lot's fencing standard down to 5 feet, but adding a clear vision triangle standard for driveways, which is also pictured above just to the right of the red dashes. The proposed changes are consistent with the intent of the existing standard to provide greater visibility for vehicles, while also allowing residents greater flexibility with their fencing location. Lastly, staff is proposing to amend the subdivision ordinance, this is Title 18, in response to Senate Bill 684, which requires the ministerial approval of up to 10 lots on a property within a multifamily zone district. That would be the city's R3 zone district. Certain criteria have to be met to be eligible for the 10-lot multifamily map. These would include, but are not limited to, things like the original parcel size has to be 5 acres or less in size. Each created lot must have only 1 unit on it, and the project has to result in at least the maximum allowed density on a specific parcel, essentially ensuring that a developer can't underbuild on a particular parcel. The minimum allowed lot size can be as small as 600 square feet. The average habitable square footage for the proposed units shall not exceed 1,750 square feet, 1,750. A requirement of 1 off-street parking space per unit, unless that parcel is within a half-mile of high-quality transit, in which case no parking would be required. And then certain things like parcels that have environmental factors or conditions on them, like being in a floodplain or presence of wetlands, high fire hazards, et cetera, are not eligible for this process. Additionally, ADUs and JADUs, as I previously mentioned, would not be allowed to be built on the lots that are split using this process. So in summary, SB 684 permits up to 10 lots and 10 homes, 1 home per lot, on a multifamily site, but only if it wouldn't result in fewer units than the zoning and the land use designation allows on the property. The majority of the multifamily properties in the city have a land use designation that would permit many more units than just 10, would make them ineligible essentially. There's a very small handful of infill sites that could potentially be eligible. Hence, staff does not foresee this utilized very often. In terms of outreach, in March of this year, staff presented the proposed amendments to the Roseville Coalition of Neighborhood Associations, the Arcona Board. At that meeting, we did not receive any questions specific to the changes, only for staff contact information in case they had further questions down the road. And to date, we have not received any additional questions. In April of this year, the hearing notice for this meeting was published in both the Roseville Press Tribune as well as the Arcona website. And in terms of the environmental review, the project is categorically exempt from CEQA per section 15061b3, which exempts projects with no potential to cause a significant effect on the environment. So in conclusion, these are staff's recommended actions, and just as a reminder, we are asking for review and comment on the subdivision ordinance only because the Planning Commission is not technically the hearing body for that section of the municipal code. I'm available to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff at this time? Okay, I will now open the public hearing and the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period. Commissioners, any last questions or comments for staff? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move that the Planning Commission consider the findings of fact as stated in the staff report and recommend the City Council approve the Title 19 Ordinance Amendment Citywide Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance Legislative Update 2024, PL 24-0106.
I'll second.
Commissioner Jensen has made the motion, and Commissioner Brashears has seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Randolph.
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan-Jost.
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears.
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yes.
And Chair Covington.
Yes, the motion is approved. Next on the agenda is Commissioner or staff report. Any reports from staff?
Yeah, just a couple of quick items. There won't be a meeting on May 9th, but we will be having at least one item on May 23rd, possibly a few. And I did also want to report out that in March, the City Council did approve, I think in February, you considered development agreement amendments for the Sierra Vista specific plan, a couple parcels, WB 31 and FD 34, to transfer around some affordable units, and the council approved those DA amendments last month. So that was it. I think that's all I have to report for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Any last questions or comments from the commission? Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Brashears has made the motion, and Commissioner Hagan-Jost has seconded the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.